The Baofeng UV-5RM Plus with GPS. They took away the flashlight, but gave you a GPS. If you were lost, now you can be found. Up next on the Higgins Report. Welcome to the Higgins Report. I'm Mike Higgins reporting, and here's my report. We'll get to some of the other features in a moment, like battery life, display, build quality, etc. But the new feature for this iteration of the UV-5RM is a built-in GPS. Wow! Finally, a cheap radio for APRS. Comes with the GPS. Now we can use that with APRS. No. Not at this time. I played with APRS, or tried to, and I don't think it works. It just transmits every 30 seconds. What's it transmitting? I don't know. But it's not a beacon that I was able to transmit to another radio or anything, so I don't know what it is. Now, maybe this could be a simple firmware update at some point from Baofeng, or maybe there's something with the CPS they can fix. I don't know. Anyway, the only way to transmit your position, as far as I can tell, is with the My Position option on the radio, and with another Baofeng UV-5RM Plus with GPS. Limiting, to say the least. But hey, it does have a functioning GPS, although I would say limited for practical use. That's just my opinion. So this Baofeng UV-5RM Plus GPS features a 1.77 inch color display, which is nice and sharp, easy to see indoors for sure, and not too bad outdoors. This is in the shade, just to give you an idea. And this is in the full sun, which you can see how dirty the display is already on here. Kind of hard to make it out if you're in the full sun, but I guess if you cup your hand over it, you can probably make it out. So let's have a look at the specs right out of the manual that you'll get with the radio. 640 channel capacity. That is 64 channels in 10 different zones. The radio is broken up into zones, which you'll get a better feel for when I show you the programming software. It has a lithium-ion battery. It says 15 hours at 5 watts, 5% transmit, 5% receive, 90% standby. That'll be 15 hours. I have not tested that. Operating temperature. I'm not going to go through every single item on here. You can take a look at it yourself. I will point out here that frequency transmit range is listed. I have an American version radio, and so you have 144 to 148 megahertz, so naturally 2 meters, and 420 to 450, so 70 centimeters. Now, I will say that the radio, as I received it, appears to be unlocked. I did not check it everywhere it can receive. I did kind of spot check it, and I do have GMRS channels programmed into it, and it appears to work. So, FYI. They claim 7 watts max. However, it's advertised as a 10-watt radio. We'll check that out as well, to see what the radio that I received, what the maximum output is. Spurious emissions, I won't be testing that. You may be able to find some other videos to check that out. Receive band. Now you do have, I don't see it listed here, you do have the ability to receive broadcast FM, also AM airband. You got wide receive here on VHF, the 220 band, 350 to 390. I really don't know what you have in there. and then all of UHF. They're claiming 0.75 watts at 16 ohms. I can tell you the speaker is plenty loud enough. I didn't have any issues hearing or with distortion when I turned up the radio. Build quality. What's my first impressions on this radio? Well, this seems to be a pretty popular volume / on and off button here in radios these days. And it appears to be a pretty decent, there's no wobble here, pretty decent control, nice and smooth, consistent feel for the duration of the span. And it's not too hard to turn and not too easy to turn. So that's good. Your typical Baofeng dual band antenna. I would probably advise you, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get yourself a little bit better antenna, but and this antenna works. So as far as the buttons, I do like the feel to these buttons. They're kind of rubberized. It's nice to have a full keypad. I will say that I'm not crazy. You got a couple buttons here on the side. I'm not real crazy about this plastic PTT button. I mean, it's fine. It just feels a little cheapy feel to it. I think if it was made out of rubber, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't last as long. I don't know, but I'm not crazy about that. It's got a pretty decent belt clip. It seems strong enough. The other side, you have your typical Kenwood style speaker mic jack. Of course, a lot of radios now are coming with USB charging directly into the radio, which this one also has. You have your battery terminals here. Now, the radio I received did not come with the charging cradle, which was kind of a disappointment. I like having USB charging for sure, but it seems like a lot of times that they're kind of chinching out on giving you a desk charger because they're giving you a USB cable that you can plug in. So anyway, maybe a con to me, maybe not a con to you. Let's have a look at the battery. Let's see, a little battery clip right here, latch. Battery slides off, and it is a 2500 milliamp hour battery. Pretty decent. You can plug the battery in when you have it off the radio. Slides in real easy, right? Yeah, there you go. Another thing is, sometimes they'll put the USB on the bottom of the battery and the bottom of the radio, which means you can't stand the radio up when you're charging it, which sucks. This one here, no problem. Plugs right into the back. As far as the housing of the radio itself, it seems pretty robust. I guess I'm not going to drop it on the concrete to test it, but it's as good as most other radios, and this is a pretty cheap radio. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check the power output here. I won't go through the boring details of keying each power level at different locations. I'll just show you my setup, and then I'll put the results in a graph so you can take a quick look. Otherwise, the video is going to be longer than you're going to want to watch. So my setup here is, here's the radio. I'm going to go ahead and use my analog meter. Wow, go figure. I don't have a fancy smancy digital meter that I can show you. That's probably not going to be any more accurate than this. Now, this is obviously not a calibrated meter. However, I have other radios that I check power outputs on, and I just checked this 5100, which on 2 meters is 5 watts, 15 watts, and 50 watts, low, medium, and high, and it correlates, it comes out exactly correct on this meter. And I'm not going into an antenna, I am going into a dummy load, so that gets that variable out of there. So I'll go ahead and show you one measurement, and then you'll see all the measurements on the graph. So first off, I got it set for the middle of 2 meters on 146. Okay, so on low power on 146 megahertz, I am at about 1.5 watts. On medium power, I'm at 3 watts. And at high power, I am at just over 5.5 watts. So, well, on 2 meters, we are not hitting the claimed 10 watts that they advertise, and I'm also not even hitting what it says in the specs, 7 watts max. And for the record, these are fully charged batteries. I'm going to go ahead and make the rest of the measurements. I'll check 440, and for the heck of it, I will check the output on GMRS for the people in the US that might want to know that. Okay, here's a look at the results at 146 megahertz, as I showed during my initial measurement there. 1.5 watts on low power, 3.0 watts on medium power, and 5.5 watts on high power. For the heck of it, I decided to jump over to the 220 band. Again, I'm into a dummy load. I don't have a 220 antenna for a handheld, so I did not transmit through the antenna. But at 222 megahertz, I got 1 watt on low power, 1 watt on medium power, and 2.5 watts on high power. On 440, low power, 2.1 watts, medium, 4.9 watts, high power, 7 watts. And for the heck of it, I jumped over to GMRS and I picked a random channel, somewhat in the middle, 462.7 megahertz. On low power, I got 1.9 watts, medium power, 3.9 watts, and high power, 6.0 watts. So the highest power that I measured was 7 watts on 440. I didn't go anywhere else on the bands. Maybe it puts out a higher output somewhere on the spectrum. You can check that out and put it in the comments if you find it putting out more power somewhere else. If you plan on getting this radio and transmitting anywhere other than VHF, UHF, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, I would recommend, first off, you're not supposed to do that. But if you are going to do that, I would recommend you get a antenna specific to that band. I wouldn't sit there talking on the 220 ham band on the provided antenna, because it will not be resonant. And same with GMRS frequencies. So as far as programming, and I'll put a link in the description to where you can get this software. The software comes down as this one right here, the 5RH Pro. This is the Baofeng provided software. Just as far as I can tell, at this time, this radio is not supported by Chirp, so you will not be able to use Chirp with this radio. Again, at this time, this video is being recorded in March of 2025. Personally, I do prefer Chirp. One shortfall that I find with this provided program is that you are not able to cut and paste or load templates. I don't see any ability to import anything, so that is an issue. I'm not going to do a detailed programming video here just because this video is getting too long. If you'd like to see a specific video as far as detailed programming, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll get around to doing that. But just to give you a real quick overview, if you are not familiar with programming radios in general, or just this one is a little different than your typical Baofeng program, it's almost laid out more so like you'd see on a DMR type of radio, where, as I mentioned earlier, you've got up to 10 different zones here, and each zone can contain up to 64 channels. So you have 640 channels altogether. Now, I do have some things. Let me see. I'll open my file. This, I think, is it. You can see I just have a couple of local repeaters that I threw in here. And then I also loaded GMRS, which I've already mentioned. And I've got one GMRS repeater. So you can fill out all your channel information, your receive frequency, transmit frequency. Again, I had to put this in manually, which is not exactly fun. It's a little bit old school, where I guess really old school would be you're not even using software, you're manually putting it into the radio. So but you can set your memory channels here. You can set your initial VFO settings when you turn the radio on VFO A and VFO B. You can change your scan settings. Now, there is an issue where you are not able to input the airband in here. I haven't really played around with that, but I'm sure that, well, I'm not sure of anything, but maybe the radio is definitely capable of airband, but for some reason it will not take the input here in the software. I mentioned how I played around with APRS. I was not able to get that to work at this time, but you do see it in the software. Your contacts, you can put contacts in here for other radios. You name the radio. If you had 5 or 10 of these radios and you were passing them out to your buddies or something, you can have a name for each radio and then transmit your coordinates back and forth if you were out hiking or camping, or I suppose, or something like that. You also have the ability to go in here and change a lot of the settings. I've got mine set to come up in memory mode. You can change that to memory or VFO and VFO A or VFO B, or channel A, channel B, however you want to call it. You can set what zone you want that A to come up or B to come up. Like, for example, I've got mine set to 1, which is my analog zone, and then 2 is my GMRS zone. And then you can have it, would you want to see the name, the number, the frequency, or both? Double weighting, I think that is, I'm not sure what that is. I believe that's probably, are you going to monitor both A and B at the same time? Now I've got mine, I changed mine to my call sign. When I power up, you can go from character to picture or battery voltage. I set mine to my call sign. One thing I did not have any luck with, if somebody has figured this out, I've done this with some of my other Baofeng radios, load a different picture to boot up on, which is like a customized picture with my call sign on it, and I was not able to figure out the picture size, so I did not get that to work yet. You can change your backlight setting. Basically anything that you can change on the radio, you can change here. I prefer changing it in the software. There's a lot less clicking involved, and then I can save it here and have a backup of it in case something were to happen to the radio, or I had to do a reset for some reason. You have the ability here to change the buttons on the side of the radio, FM radio, GPS, long press, short press on those 2 buttons by the PTT button, and this is here where you can enable the GPS, And like I said, APRS is here, but it doesn't appear to be working. I'm not sure what engineering mode is. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell on the programming. I might do another video on more specifics, but this is getting long, and I've probably lost 90% of you at this point. So that's it for programming. My final thoughts on this radio. For the little bit of extra cash, you get a built-in GPS. You may or may not have the ability to use this radio for APRS. Right now, not. Spurious emissions aside, and I did not test it, it could be clean. Like a reformed drug addict. They could be clean. For the money. It's really decent. Of course, it's a matter of opinion and perspective. Don't buy this radio thinking it's going to compare to even a middle-of-the-road radio from ICOM, Yaesu, or Kenwood. You want a Corvette? Get a Kenwood. You want a cheap daily driver to get you from point A to point B? Grab one of these, you tightwad. That concludes this Higgins Report. I've reported my report. 73 for now, and be safe.